ticker on most of the networks. The margin that Donald Trump is ahead, we continue to close, and we expect that gap to continue. We believe from our data that the majority of the outstanding ballots left are for the vice president, and that at the end of the day, and let us hope it's the end of today, but at the end of the day, we will win by a sizable number of votes in Pennsylvania. But we need to make sure that we continue the count there, and that count is underway, and we're going to be patient and wait for it. But our path forward is a path to victory in Pennsylvania. In Arizona, already a number of media outlets have called Arizona for the vice president. We continue to feel confident about Arizona, and we believe we have won there, though the counting has not been finished. So we are waiting on Arizona to continue to count. We saw some counts last night. There's going to be more today. We do expect, similar to Nevada, that some of the margin will continue to close today as more data comes in. From our understanding of how the data is going to be reported, we believe that we will see some more rural and other counties that might be less favorable to us coming in earlier. Pima County, a county that is very favorable for the vice president, we understand might not report until tomorrow. And Maricopa, which is the county where Phoenix is, we know is likely to report at least some of their outstanding ballots, but not until later tonight. So the story of Arizona is one where Joe Biden is going to win, but it's going to take us time and patience as we go through the counting. You might see, we would expect to see, and we will see a tightening of that margin throughout the day. But more favorable data will be coming in this evening and even into tomorrow. So just be conscious of that and be calm as you see that throughout the day. So let's talk about two other states that are still out there and still in play. One that is getting a lot of attention and that we are also obviously very focused on. That would be Georgia. This race, as we said the last time we spoke, is a true toss-up. And we are seeing this as of this morning, and I know the Secretary of State just had a press conference, we are seeing us continuing to cut into the advantage that Donald Trump has. He is leading by about 18,000 votes, but there are a significant number of outstanding ballots that the Secretary of State just spoke to that we expect to be coming in throughout the day. Some counties like Fulton County or Atlanta is counted through the night. But we have a very good sense of where the outstanding ballots are, mostly coming from more Democratic-leaning areas, as well as from mail-in voters, places where the vice president has had significant support across the country. So we believe that Georgia, while continuing to be a toss-up, while continuing to be something that is going to be very, very close, at this stage leans to the vice president. And so keep an eye on Georgia throughout the day as we are, but I think we're heading on our path to close that 18,000 vote margin and potentially overtake it. North Carolina, the final state to speak to today, this race continues to be very tight. No real changes in terms of updated data, but we're staying on top of what's coming in, making sure that we have a very good sense of that, and we'll provide updates as we see throughout the day. So hopefully that gives you a sense of how we're approaching and thinking about the states. We are grateful to everyone who is doing the hard work of counting votes in these states. Counting votes and counting every vote is a fundamental tenet of our democracy. And we are so grateful for the hard work that's being done, as we said, with people counting overnight and day after day. Keep at it, but doing a great job, and we're grateful that work. This is happening, this is what's happening right now. This is how we are looking at the morning. I think the story of today is going to be a very positive story for the vice president, but also one where folks are going to need to stay patient and stay calm. The counting is happening. It's going to take time. We need to allow it to get done and done well. And we're very confident whatever happens with the counting and the timing, we will come out ahead. We are absolutely confident that Joe Biden will be the next president of the United States. And we are equally confident that we're going to be able to watch the counting throughout the day and into tomorrow to finalize these last states that are going to put us over the top to 217. So with that update, I'm now going to hand this presentation over to Bob Bauer to talk a little bit more about how we are looking at Donald Trump's efforts in these final hours and the strategy that we're putting forth on our behalf. So Bob, over to you.
Thank you, Jen. I just wanted to put into the right sort of frame and perspective what you are hearing from some of the states about Trump claims and Trump lawsuits. And I think they're connected. The lawsuits are meritless. They're intended to give the Trump campaign the opportunity to argue that the vote count should stop. It is not going to stop. And I'll walk through some of the silliness behind these claims momentarily. But I want to emphasize that for their purposes, these lawsuits don't have to have merit. That's not the purpose. It's not to bring bona fide claims before the courts. It is to create an opportunity for them to message falsely about what's taking place in the electoral process. And to go to Jen's point, it's really quite remarkable. These election officials are working overnight, trying to get the count out and trying to get it right. And the Trump campaign is continually alleging irregularity, failures of the system, and fraud without any basis. This is part of a broader misinformation campaign that involves some political theater. You may have heard about some loud noises being made by Trump supporters at the polling places, the shouts of stop the vote count and the like. Well, be aware that wherever this is happening, and it's happening inappropriately at close proximity to the polling place, law enforcement and election officials are clearing the places quickly of this kind of behavior and assuring that the vote count can continue. But all of this is intended to create a large cloud that it is the hope of the Trump campaign that nobody can see through, but it is not a very thick cloud. It's not hard to see what they're doing. We see through it. So will the courts, and so do election officials. Now, let me begin. Let me just close by saying a little bit so that you have some grounding in what these lawsuits seem to be about. Let's take 3 examples: Georgia, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. So let's take Georgia. In Chatham County, the Trump campaign showed up to allege that 53 late arriving ballots were mixed with ballots received on time. What was the evidence of that? Well, a Trump observer expressed some suspicion about something that may have happened when that observer left the room. That was it. That was the sole purpose of it. The sole basis of it is sort of an expression of suspicion. So the Trump campaign requested that Georgia counties separate any and all late arriving ballots. Well, that's interesting because that's what election officials are already doing, because that's what the law requires. So you have a suspicion that is expressed as the basis for a lawsuit demanding that election officials do what election officials are already doing because the law requires it. I think it's kind of comic, but that's what's involved. Another example comes from Michigan. In Michigan, the Trump campaign filed suit alleging that Republican inspectors should have been afforded the opportunity to witness the collection, and they asked for the count to be halted. Well, the collection from the drop boxes was conducted by trained election officials, precisely as provided by law, and the claim is completely meritless. It's a messaging exercise. It has no other purpose than to confuse the public about what's taking place and to support their baseless claims of irregularity. Final example from Pennsylvania. They continue to file suits in this case. In many cases, they're litigating over issues they've already litigated. So they're kind of running out of ideas and they're recycling them. And in other instances, they're filing over utterly immaterial matters like where they may be permitted to stand and observe while the counting takes place. As another example, they've intervened in a pending Supreme Court case involving Pennsylvania, but their lawyers are already there representing the Republican Party. So they're intervening one more time with the same legal team to duplicate a filing that's already taken place to give people the impression that something important is happening in the United States Supreme Court, but in fact, it's not. It's the same old case with the same parties lined up, arguing the same issues. Nothing has changed. So let me just close by saying this strategy of disrupting the vote count, as you can tell by the efforts of election officials to continue to count, is doomed to fail. But in the background, the noise is fraud, irregularity, and the like. And the lawsuits and the disruptive behavior are all for that purpose of trying to get the vote counted, try to confuse the public about what's taking place. And we'll make sure the public is clear about what's taking place, and election officials operating under the law will make sure that the vote count continues. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob, and thanks, everyone. We're happy to take some questions.
We'll go to Hannah Trudeau first. Hannah, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks for doing this. I'm wondering, Jen, if you can speak a little bit more in depth about why you feel as certain as you do about Arizona, and also curious if you've spoken or had any contact with the Trump campaign today.
Hey, Hannah. Yeah. So Arizona, we we felt good about all along. It wouldn't be a presentation if I didn't say that I'm bullish on Arizona. Look, we really understand that this is a race that we've been ahead. We expected it all along to be close. And as we look at the data that's outstanding, we see a number of Democratic counties that are yet to report. Maricopa, as I said today, we do expect the margin to be closing. We knew that, and we had seen that even coming into election night after we started to see the results. So this is the trajectory that we have been headed. We will win by tens of thousands of votes, but that margin will close. And as I said, Arizona and Nevada, I think there'll be some bounce throughout the day, and the margin will tighten, but that's what we've been expecting all along. And the only challenge with Arizona is the data. Now, if we understand it as we currently do in terms of timing, it could be tonight, and as well as Pima coming in tomorrow, and more of Maricopa tomorrow as well. So it might take a little bit longer to get there. We have not had contact throughout the day, and we're just plugging along with our focus on making sure the votes are counted and that we're pushing forward here.
We have Alex Jaffe next.
Hi, guys. Thanks for holding this call. Jen, I wanted to check in, since you are expressing confidence at the ultimate result of the election, if you guys have started ramping up transition planning, and if you can speak about sort of what that looks like imminently, what you're planning to announce in the coming days after the race is called, if it is called in your favor.
So the good thing is that I'm the campaign manager, and so what I'm focused on is getting these final votes done. We're very focused on making sure the counting goes on. The vice president is continuing to do the things that he's been doing every step of the way, not losing sight of the fact that COVID cases are rising day after day in this country as well, and making sure that he's briefing on that. So we're going to just continue to focus on the campaign and closing out these final states.
We have Chris Smith next.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for talking. One for each of you. Jen, given where the counts are, is there a state you think is going to come in first and get you over 270? And Bob, we haven't seen, have you seen any evidence of the Attorney General, Bill Barr, getting involved in any of this maneuvering on Trump's side, and do you expect to see it?
So just to that first question, to be honest, I don't know. I think that we are doing our best, like everyone else is, to get a sense of timing, and monitoring that. We will see more moving in a number of places this morning. Certainly, we know from an Arizona standpoint, the current timing puts us into tomorrow. Pennsylvania has a large volume of ballots to still go through, so that will take some time. So at this stage, it's not clear, when that final count will come and the timing, and we're just going to stay close on all of them.
As for the Attorney General, no, we have not seen any indication of any kind of unusual or concerning activity there. There'd be no basis for the Department of Justice to become involved. The conduct of these elections is the responsibility of the states. And as we can all see, they're perfectly capable of conducting these counts and also of enforcing order. And indeed, that is what that's what they're charged with doing. So this is a state matter, not a matter for the Department of Justice. And we see no reason to believe that fundamental allocation of responsibility is one that the Attorney General is planning to challenge in any way.
For our last question, we have Asma Khalid.
Hi there. Thank you guys so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. Two quick questions. One is, what is your sense of your sort of best sense of the remaining vote in Philly? And then also, I know there was an iteration of this kind of ask, but amongst the remaining states, do you have any sense, if you could sort of rank them for me in terms of your level of optimism, if you feel willing to, just where you think they are, if we could rank North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania?
So, Pennsylvania and Philly in particular, I know there's a lot of uncertainty about the exact numbers there. And I know there's a few different narratives kind of swirling online. There are hundreds of thousands of ballots outstanding. We think it's probably in the 500 to 700,000 plus across the whole state. What I can tell you is that what we have seen in places like Milwaukee and Detroit and Pittsburgh, and we also expect in Philly is very high turnout. And so, we think that there is still significant outstanding ballot in Philly, but of course across the entire state. And as folks know, the vice president has been carrying very, very high margins with vote by mail in particular, and from communities like these. And so we expect that we will have a really strong showing today as the counting is underway. In terms of the states and optimism, look, I feel very, very good about all the states. I think North Carolina is a little bit tighter, a little bit tougher. We are looking for that moment in Pennsylvania and Georgia today where we see that ticker overtake Donald Trump. We think it's going to happen. But I'm confident in all four, bullish on all four of those states. I'm going to expand my statement on bullishness outside of Arizona, but we're very optimistic. And, we don't really care which state takes us over the top. We just want to keep going and make sure the counts get done. And as I said earlier, the counting is underway. We know that it's going to take a little bit of time, and we support that. And we're just going to stay calm and be patient. And at the end of the day, we'll be situated well, regardless of what those early states are with the remaining.
This state. I care deeply about both the rule of law and voter integrity, like the rest of Nevadans and Americans. And we warned for the last few weeks that we could end up in a situation where Nevada decides the fate of the presidency. We warned that the Democrats changed this election system. They gave us mail-in ballots. And despite the fact that there are examples of thousands of ballots being mailed across this valley in trash cans in apartment buildings, people getting as many as 18 ballots to their homes. We knew these rolls were unclean, and we were told that signatures would save us from all fraud. But to date, we still have not been able to observe these signatures or meaningfully challenge a single mail-in ballot out of hundreds of thousands of casts. We firmly believe that there are many voters in this group of mail-in people that are not proper voters. In the last many days, we have received reports of many irregularities across the valley. We believe that there are dead voters that have been counted. We are also confident that there are thousands of people whose votes have been counted that have moved out of Clark County during the pandemic. Today, we have a voter, Jill Stokey, who was denied access to vote. She showed up to vote, and she was told someone had already cast her ballot, and she was denied the opportunity to vote. We are filing in federal district court here in Las Vegas. We're asking for emergency relief, a TRO, and injunctive relief. We're asking the judge to, due to all of these irregularities, to stop the counting of improper votes. Thank you.
The courts of Nevada.
Can you wait? Yeah, you got it. Look, the reality is that transparency is not political.
Sir, your name?
Ballots are not automatically legal votes until they're checked. We are not being allowed to check. The Harry Reid machine recklessly threw ballots into the mail, and now we cannot check whether or not there are non-residents, which we have evidence, publicly available evidence, that you all in the media should be also looking at. It's publicly available information that non-residents have voted. There is a 30-day residency requirement in the state of Nevada. If you haven't been in the state for 30 days, it is illegal to vote. Reporters have a responsibility. The fact is, we are filing this federal lawsuit to protect legal voters. It is unacceptable in this country to have illegal votes counted. And that is what's happening in the state of Nevada. We've asked Clark County for answers. They have no answers. They continue to count illegal votes. That is unacceptable, and it's giving legal people a sense that the system is corrupt. We have to have a system where legal votes are cast. What the Harry Reid machine has done is throw out recklessly ballots, and now they don't want us to check those ballots, and we are seeing discrepancies all over. We are asking Clark County to give us answers. All of your questions about the details are legitimate questions, and they should be asked of Clark County, because the Clark County officials are silent. They are not giving us any answers, and they continue to count these illegal votes. Ballots versus legal votes. That's what we're talking about. It is unacceptable in this country.
The presidency is literally in the breach.
Listen, you're here to take in information. Okay? We'll do your job. It's pretty easy.
The president. Thank you all for turning out. Thank you all for turning out. The presidency literally hangs in the balance, and what the fundamental principle is here is that we want to be able to make sure that the counting that occurs and that the results that happen can be respected by every American voter across this land and truly across the world. If you're not allowed in to see the process, both sides and all of you in the media, so that there is transparency, so that there's meaningful observing of these ballots, that calls into question what those results will be. The idea in this country, the idea in America, that we would somehow reduce or limit the ability to have basic insurance that a ballot is a legal ballot, that a ballot is an acceptable ballot, that the person who voted, that we took minimal steps to make sure that there was a signature match, for instance. Those types of guarantees need to be in the process. And so we have to understand that what's going on in Nevada impacts what's going on all across this country, which is the American people want to have confidence in the results that are coming out of Nevada. That will occur when we can make a case why every ballot is an acceptable, compliant ballot.
What is your name?
Let me, do you want to introduce these two, or we can have them introduce themselves? These are individuals who have stories of discrepancy. If you want to state your name and briefly what happened.
Okay.
And we won't take any questions, but you can step up and go right here.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Jill Stokey. I went to vote and was told I already voted. I pursued the matter, and in years past, I always voted in person. This time, they mailed out the ballot, and somebody took my ballot. They also took the ballot of my roommate. I was told by the interviewer from Channel 8, when I said, did other people do this? He said, yes. He said, you're the first double. Thank you.
Ms. Stokey, will you spell your name for us, please?
S is in Sam, T is in Tom, O-K-K-E.
Good morning. I'm Chris Perdomo. I'm going to give my account what happened. I was here, actually been here for quite a bit, and was here with members of the Trump campaign and came in a media capacity to obtain content information on election night, and unfortunately was stereotyped in that regard, and you can take for that what you may, and was not able to obtain any type of access by any means, and got a little bit, I guess you can say assertive or aggressive is the word, so to speak, and the question was asked at 1:30 in the morning, why are you here? And our response was, well, it's election night. That's why we're here, and you guys are obviously counting ballots. And it was unique because they said they had an hour and a half left of counting to do, and an official came out who was kind and asked us to sign documents, and a few moments later we were asked to leave. Well, I find it ironic we were asked to leave within 10 to 12 minutes when they said they had an hour and a half of counting left to do. And clearly that was an attack, I think, on any type of conservative media or any individual or entity that wanted to have access and cover. And we find it very unique that other outlets are able to have full access, but we were not given any type of access whatsoever. And they question the validity of my background, or any type of media, any type of experience whatsoever. So that was my personal account, and that's it.
So what media were you representing, Chris?
Let me just say this. All of your questions are very good, and they should be asked of Clark County. We don't have access to the information. They are not giving us access to the ballots. The publicly available information raises a lot of questions, and yet we are not getting answers just like you. We're not going to take any more questions today, and I will say that we will have more to say at the end of the day after we file. So all you have to do is ask your questions of Clark County, and we will make sure that we continue the pressure on them too. Thank you very much.
Starting.
We want Trump. We want Trump. We want Trump. We want Trump. What about missing ballots? What do we do with those? We want Trump. Right. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to take. He doesn't want to take. ABC News. Good. They know that. They know
Thank you.